What is up, Fantasy Endgame family, Fantasy Endgame baseball players? We are back. It's Sunday, and you know what that means. The week is wrapping up. I think we have one game left. Just started, Dodgers Cubs, but for most of you, the week is probably over. Hopefully, it went well. If it didn't, we're here to help give you some support, answer your questions, get you ready for the next week. But as always, as we do on Sundays, we get you ready with the two-start streamers. Pierre, I think he had some pretty good picks this week. I know Wesneski, he was great. He was great both his streams. You ready to get into these two starters this week?
Yeah, I like this week's slate a lot better already than last week's. And that's like you said, a couple of them. I mean, some of those picks from last week did pan out. Like I said, Wesneski, David Peterson, we talked about, and sometimes those guys move from streamers to pickups, right? Like Wesneski, and so that's why you want to keep a close eye. And there's one pitcher we're going to talk about that this might be, the week that pushes him into that category. And then, sometimes you look at these pitchers like, all right, that's enough. Thanks for your service. And I can just ignore you. But that's the name of the game as streamer. You don't know what you get. It's like a box of chocolates.
It is like a box of chocolates. I had a pretty good streaming week. If you had told me how good my streamers had been last week, I would have said I smashed my opponent this week. But for some reason, my stud hitters that I drafted are poop. They're terrible. My pitching is somehow better than my hitting, but that's okay. It'll come around eventually. But that's not why you're here to hear me whine about my fantasy baseball team. Let's talk about those two start streamers. And I wonder if this, I see some names on here. I'm not sure which you alluded to one of them becoming maybe not a set and forget, but maybe just a guy you don't ever drop again. And I wonder if it is Tyler McGill of the Mets, because he's had a nice start to the season so far. I would say these are okay matchups. I feel like the Twins and Cardinals, like the Cardinals last year were a terrible offense. I feel like there have been a pretty good offense this year. The Twins, one of those offenses that kind of like a box of chocolates. Some nights they're on and some nights they're off. But man, Tyler McGill has been so good. So Twins and Cardinals, is this a guy? Is he becoming more than a streamer? Is he the one?
Well, we shall see. It depends on these two starts go. I'm not there yet. I didn't talk about him as a waiver wire pickup yet because I need to see more. Tyler McGill is in the rotation because of injuries, which will tend to happen. But, he's a guy who's never been, not just for fantasy only, but for the Mets, for real life, a set and forget rotation arm. So this could go either way. Like you said, the matchups are almost firmly in the middle. Not great offenses, not bad offenses, unpredictable. The Twins, kind of up and down. The Cardinals, surprisingly good, but starting to cool down. So I want to see. Now, obviously, I got them, first. We do these in order. So, like when you're putting these streamers out there, you're telling everyone who's first on the list. This is going to be our first priority. If he's available, you get him. He's been the best so far. The ratios are amazing, which is why he's now starting to get picked up. But this is also something worth noting, and we're always going to make this distinction. Some leagues, it's traditional 5x5, and you use wins. Some leagues like ours, and a lot more are going to this, it's quality starts. If you're in a points league or if you're in a deep categories league or something, you might even use both. So it really kind of depends. So, wins, yeah, you can definitely get some wins out of him. But he's only thrown 14 and a third innings across 3 starts. He doesn't have a single quality start yet. So if you're in a QS league without wins, you got to probably bump him down. I'd say maybe 2 spots at least in this ranking list. But even then, I mean, he's been so good. It's like when a pitcher has been so much better than he's ever been before, you almost just expect he's going to get lit up, right? I mean, it's like you cannot continue to be this good. You are not this good, but it might not happen this week. So I think I still have to put him first.
All right. I know what you're saying there, but yeah, it's kind of like, who was it last year? Was it Ranger Suarez or somebody who was like suddenly so good last year? You just got to keep riding the wave until it crashes, right? And right now he's pitching well and he gets 2 good matchups. And then we're at the next, your next 2-star streamer is Jeffrey Springs. This is a guy, certainly, he's been fantasy relevant. He's had some good seasons under his belt. He's now on the team with No City. just a mascot, the team with only a mascot. But look, so far he's been pretty good this year. I mean, he does have a 4.2 ERA. That's not great, but he's gone 6 innings in 2 of his 3 starts. He's got 16 strikeouts in 15 innings, and he's got 2 quality starts on the year so far. And the one bad one was the Cubs, which you can kind of forgive him for that. And he gets the White Sox and the Brew Crew. Although the Brew Crew they've been okay on offense, but not the White Sox. So talk to me about Springs here.
Yeah, Springs, I think, is always going to be right here in this range. Not a set and forget. I don't think he ever will be that. But also not somebody you just can completely ignore. When he's got a good schedule, I'll start him, and it's obviously a great schedule. The White Sox and then the Brewers have been pretty cold for the most part to start the season. Not too worried about them, even if it's a road game. It used to be with Oakland pitchers, you want them at home. We're not in Oakland anymore, so being on the road is probably better here. But again, in a quality starts league, he's got 2 so far. That one sandwich in between, like you said, was the Cubs, and the Cubs are now one of the hottest offenses. So we can say, okay, we'll give you a pass for that. But I do think Springs will be your very solid, high floor, not super exciting, but great matchups. Kind of picture that if you're looking for a solid 2-start streamer that won't make you sweat, I mean, this is it.
All right, there you go. That's always a good feeling. It's always nice to have that 2-start streamer that you don't sweat about. That's always a good thing because usually you're sweating those 2-start streamers. Like I was sweating Wesneski today when he gave up like a couple runs early, but man, did he bounce back with a great game today, 10 strikeouts. I'm going to keep talking about that because he was my 2-start streamer of the week last week. All right, on to your next one. That's Mitch Keller. Now, this guy definitely has been, I guess, pretty solid this year, except, you take out that Yankees game where he got rocked, but that's the Yankees. I mean, come on. It's the Yankees. Don't start, like you say, only start your studs against the Yankees. But you look at Keller against the Cardinals, against your not so mighty Marlins. In those 2 games, over 13 innings pitched. He's gone at least 6 innings in both those games, 10 strikeouts, only gave up 1 earned run. In those 2 games combined, only gave up 9 hits in those 2 games combined, only 2 walks in those 2 games combined. He gets a pretty nice matchup this week, Nationals and Guardians. I feel like this is another kind of safe streamer here.
This week, yeah, maybe. Mitch Keller is usually far from safe, but, it's like you look at what he's done so far this year, it's kind of the Mitch Keller experience. Sometimes he looks like an ace and sometimes he looks like a bum. I think we can mostly forgive the Yankees game because of the Yankees, right? And that was early torpedo bats,
yes.
etc. I've always kind of just been really hesitant to buy into Keller just because I know no matter how good he might look in some starts, I just don't want. I'm always bracing for that crushing disastrous start that always comes along, like it has already. But I will say, Mitch Keller is one of those guys who has slowly, gradually over the years continued to improve. He will still occasionally have that game, but maybe now he's got it out of his system. He'll be good this week. I'm not scared about the matchups. 2 pretty good matchups. Keller, I will say this. I'm kind of surprised he isn't higher than, I think, 42% rostered in Yahoo and even lower in ESPN. So maybe this is your sneaky streamer that winds up dominating this week. Not guaranteeing it because you never know with Keller, but I am unusually optimistic about Keller.
All right, there you go. And you really shouldn't be too terrified of those matchups. Now, I think I now know who is the guy that you're going to say maybe you just got to keep this guy on your roster because I think you talked about him on the waiver wire video. Household name, Easton Lucas. Yes, the guy everybody hyped up all offseason, Easton Lucas, has been off to a red-hot start this year. 2 wins in 2 starts. Has given up as many earned runs as you and I and everybody on the stream, which is 0 for those who are mathematically challenged. Also has 11 strikeouts, which is pretty good. The only downside here is he's yet to go over 5 1/3 innings. So if you're in a quality start league, maybe this is the week he goes 6+, but there's a risk that you don't get any quality starts from him. But man, does he look good. And now he gets the Braves, who, we think that's a good lineup, but they've been terrible to start the year. And the Mariners, once again, terrible offense. So can he keep it going?
I mean, I really hate to say I don't know, because I don't. But Easton Lucas is, again, one of these out of nowhere kind of guy. Nobody was thinking about him, talking about him, only in the rotation because of the Max Scherzer injury. He's looked great. Is it going to continue? Honestly, we will see this week. I can only put him in the middle here, right? I'm not all in, because I don't think anybody should be all in, and I'm not going to be completely out. So I do like, for the most part, the matchups are pretty good. The Braves obviously have been pretty cold for the most part to start the season, and the Mariners. The Mariners last year were the worst hitting team against left-handed pitchers. And I don't think there's a big improvement yet this year. They're hitting 190 against lefties. This is not a team that you should be too scared of in that sense. So really, even though you think these are pretty good teams overall, these are really good matchups for Lucas. So again, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. Obviously not giving up a run yet. It's going to happen. He'll give up a run at some point, but it's just also, how deep is he going to go? Only 5 innings, 5 1/3. Maybe he stretches out and gets to 6 this time, but you can't count on it. So this is your risk reward potential streamer. But you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if he had 2 more really good starts this week, and then he just bumps up and becomes a guy that, unless you're in a shallow league, you just add him and then keep riding it.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I definitely learned about fantasy baseball last year is that these guys who start red hot like this, I know it's easy to say like, oh, it's Easton Lucas, but who cares? Who cares? If he's going to be hot like this, even if it goes to the All-Star break, take it, right? Just put him on your team. When he starts to, when he gets rocked a couple times, fine. Cut bait, it's over. But until then, keep going with him. Now, you said he's kind of your risk reward. That's kind of how I feel about this next guy. Tanner Hoke. I can never pronounce his name. It's been quite the season for old Tanner here. He did have a nice outing last game against the Blue Jays, only 1 earned run in 6 2/3, but only 2 strikeouts in that game. But not too good against the Orioles and the Rangers prior to that, so you never know what you're going to get. But I do know what you're going to get this week, and that is 2 of the softest matchups possible with the Rays and the White Sox. So, I mean, come on. He can't fail in these matchups, right?
I feel like that's a trick question, but look, the thing with Houck is, we actually talked about him last week. He was supposed to be a 2-start streamer last week, and the schedule, things shift and change. So this is the week, supposedly, he gets 2 starts. I liked him last week. I like him again this week. The Rays and the White Sox, it's pretty easy. So I'm not going to repeat too much of what I already had said last time. We know with Houck, his first 2 starts were bad, but he definitely settled down this last time. In his 1 start he did make, I'm not going to be in on him all season. There are definitely some red flags, some reasons. I talked about him in the very first week of the season as a panic player. I'm not in on him necessarily long term, but I am in on him this week for now.
All right. Yeah, you got to be on him this week in those matchups. I mean, if he falters in these matchups, maybe it's just time to cut bait.
Right.
All right. Speaking of another kind of roller coaster guy, Merrill Kelly started the season well against the Cubs. Then got, I guess, the Yankees. Give him a pass there. Bounced back pretty nicely against the Orioles, though. Now he gets this week. Gets faced the Marlins, which it's a great matchup. And then the Cubs again, which not a great matchup. But look, the first time he faced the Cubs, 5 1/3 innings, only 1 earned run. Did only have 1 strikeout in that game. So, and again, a guy who has only gone 6 innings once this year. So I know you don't love that second matchup, but are we getting into the, if he's all you got, he's better than nothing territory here? Pretty
much. This will be your 1+ plus start streamer. Like if you can just start him for the first one, that's great. You don't have to start him for the second one against the Cubs. You could, and again, he managed to not get lit by them. He's okay. He doesn't really get rocked too much. He's just kind of off to a slow start. You can see how he's gradually improving, but again, the ceiling is definitely capped. Right? He's not going to get necessarily 10 strikeouts in the game. He's not going to go super deep. So I like the first start. About the second start, he's a deep league option if you missed out on the first 5.
All right, then getting very deep here. Let's go to Sean Burke, who felt like an eternity ago that he dominated an Angels lineup that actually seems pretty good. Like maybe the Angels actually have a decent offense, at least for right now. Unfortunately, he then got dominated by the Twins and it was just kind of okay against the Guardians. But he does get 2 favorable matchups, the team with no city and the Red Sox, although the Red Sox have definitely picked it up after that incredibly abysmal start to the season. So talk me into Sean Burke this week.
Well, so like Kelly, I feel like every week we'll throw out one of those good 1 start streamer, maybe 2 start streamers, like only stream if desperate. This is going to be your pick of faith. You're just like, you know what? Maybe something good will happen. And I roll the dice and this just turns out. I like him better than a lot of the other 2 start streamers we're not talking about. But yeah, you're just hoping what he gave you in that very first start comes back. And I say he probably gave nobody because nobody had him. Nobody was starting him when he was first starting, probably opening day. But he's got good stuff. He was good in limited time end of last year. The last 2 starts, he's taken a step back. I think he could regain some of his effectiveness from early season, but I also don't necessarily want to count on it. This is kind of a leap of faith pick here.
All right, there you go. So there are Pierre's top 2 start streamers for the week, if that's your thing, and it really should be. I think it's just, obviously leagues are different, but if you're in a typical categories head-to-head league, streaming pitching like this is a great way to get an edge over the competition. All right, it's time now, of course, to answer your questions. You know how this goes. We're going to be here for about the next 45 minutes, answering as many questions as we can. If you're impatient and you don't want to wait for us to get to your question, you can drop that super chat, or if you just are feeling generous, want to say thanks for all the hard work, you can drop that super chat, and we will get to your question right out of the way. You will kind of like jump the line, kind of like your fast pass there at Disneyland. Also, a reminder that Underdog still does have pick'ems every single day of the week. Even right now, they have in-game picks for Cubs Dodgers going on right now. So if you have not tried Underdog Fantasy, this is the time to do it. Go to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code ENDGAME because you get your free pick right off the bat, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash. All right, let's do it. Let's jump into the first question. Well, let's give Raul a little shout out here. Doesn't have a question, but he wants to say, what's up? Hope everyone had a good weekend. Lots to talk about. Yes, hope you did as well.
Yep.
All right, back to back, who still has not even responded to my trade offer yet in our league. Cough, cough, hint, hint. Lost Kettle Marte. He's got Keith and Brandon Lowe as his second base options. So this is obviously not in our league because I have Brandon Lowe in that league. Would you drop Keith for Jorge Polanco or Tyler Ward and just have Lowe as a starting second baseman?
Probably doing the second there. Cole Keith was one of my sleepers this year. I thought might come through, and of course it's still early, still might happen, but he's off to a pretty rough start. So I think you can cut if you have those options, and you need a second baseman, obviously. Let's go with Brandon Lowe. He's been good. I liked Brandon Lowe actually a lot as well. Mentioned him also in draft season, just in a different way, right? He's a known commodity. He just needs to stay healthy. I mean, he's a guy who's been super productive when he stays on the field, and so far so good. So I like Lowe, and I actually am fine with Polanco as well, but I would rather be able to get Ward given how hot he is. So let's do that second option.
All right, there you go. Thank you. And anytime you feel like it, go ahead, check out the trade. Even if you're like, nope, that's fine. All right, Abel saying his season's off to a terrible start. You and I both, Abel. Luckily, it's a long season. Hopefully, we bounce back this week. Raul does have a question now. In a points league, would you prefer Michael Harris or StatCast King Lars Nootbaar?
Well, I was a little down on Harris during the draft season. That's just because he was being drafted so high, too high. But I think you still have to roll with Harris, and he's done something lately. At least he's picked it up a little bit. But you got to keep rolling with Harris. Nootbaar is a fine pickup, but I don't think he's replacing Harris anytime real soon.
All right, so just stick with Harris. I mean, I know it's tough with these guys that are struggling to not just want to cut bait, but it is a long season. All right, Anthony dropping in saying, hope you guys had a better week than he did. It was a very unhappy baseball week for him. Did terrible in most of his leagues. Looking forward to next week. Yes, a lot of us are. And I feel you on this one, Anthony, saying he thought his hitting would be better and his pitching worse, but no. Yeah, the thing that gives me hope is that my pitching has been pretty good so far with my streamers. I didn't get the strikeouts I wanted this week, but I mean, I had a 2.39 ERA, a 1.03 whip, and 7 quality starts, and I completely punted pitching. I just thought my hitters would actually know how to hit a baseball, but apparently they don't. All right, Uwe2K. What's up?
Yeah, I'll say this. You mentioned Santander at least finally did something. He finally did go deep.
Okay, the one, thank goodness he was in my lineup when he did it. Thank goodness. And Cal Raleigh is finally hitting home runs again, 3 in a row. But yeah, and Uwe2K is right. You might want to pivot the bomb squad to missile command. Yeah, exactly. Like the bomb squad is not bombing right now. How do I only have 6 home runs? All I drafted was home run hitters, and I have 6 home runs.
So it's a cold weather. Just wait till it warms up a little bit. Then
that's what they said last year too. Like, what's the point? What's the point of drafting guys if they're only good in the summer? Like, I might as well just wait till they get dropped and then pick them up.
That's one way to do it.
All right. A, what's up? A wants to know all 3 of his teams are doing great. There we go. Some positivity, especially because of Jung-Hoo Lee. Do we dare try to sell high, or are you a Who believer? Hooli Cow.
That's a great team name. Now I think about it, I gotta go back.
That's a great team name, and then you're like your picture could be Harry Carey.
Yes. All right. Dare to sell high. Chris knows the answer to this. No matter the player, no matter the sport, no matter what it is, the answer is you can always sell high as long as you are actually selling high. Now,
yes.
with Lee, the question is what is high? Because we don't know, because he has just a part of a season which was actually pretty bad last year. That's all we have to look back on. This is his first chance to really do something at the major league level over the course of a season. Am I a believer? Generally, yes. And I talked about that on the waiver wire video. Am I believing in this power all of a sudden that's coming out of nowhere? No, he's not a guy who I think will even necessarily reach. I don't know if he'll even get to 20 home runs. But that's okay, because that's not what you need to believe in. You're not getting him for power. You're getting him because he's in third in Giants lineup. He'll be able to both score and drive in runs. He'll hit for average. He'll get you a smattering of steals. So I think 2020 might be overly optimistic, 15-15, but if he can get you close to a 300 average, helps you in runs, helps you in RBIs, more of a very high floor play than a full-fledged breakout, if that makes sense. So, I mean, if somebody thinks that he's like the next Ohtani, oh, sure, definitely sell high. He's not that, I guarantee you that. But again, if you sell high and you get somebody who is definitely more valuable than him, I'm okay, but it really, really depends who. And that's a tricky question as to who you're asking about. So I'm a mostly believer, but I'm also fine selling high.
Yeah, always fine selling high if you're really selling high. All right, we got a super chat from Anthony, always supporting us. We appreciate it, Anthony. He just wants to say you guys work real hard. He appreciates everything we do. We appreciate you and everybody here. And how interactive we are. So thank you, Anthony. We appreciate that and appreciate you always being on here and supporting the channel. All right, next question. We got Michael. What's up, Michael? Would you trade Mackenzie? Yeah, Mackenzie Gore for VDP. Mackenzie Gore he had the strikeouts today, but not much else.
You know what? That's close. In a vacuum, I would say, yeah, I would do that because I do think Vinny P is going to have a solid season. Again, he's one of those players, kind of like I talked about with Lee's. He's not necessarily going to have some huge breakout, but he's going to get you that floor. He can actually hit for average, get you some power, good spot in the lineup, etc. And Gore, I mean, I love Gore, but he'll also be a guy who has his ups and downs. The floor is far lower with him, and he's a pitcher, so he could always get hurt. So I'll just say I could do that, especially if you need the help in offense. I'll take Vinny P.
Yeah, today was like a perfect example of what you get with Mackenzie Gore. You get a matchup against the Marlins that you think, he's gonna dominate, and he gives up 4 runs, and he struck out 6, but you're like, what? How does this happen against the Marlins, right? But then next week he goes against the Yankees and gets you 12 strikeouts and gives up no runs, and you're like, what? What? That's the Mackenzie Gore experience. All right, Anthony has a question. All right, well, Anthony, I don't know if you were here in the beginning, but we talked about Easton Lucas as a 2-star streamer this week. Yeah, this is pretty much what Pierre said. His history doesn't show him being this good, but we're riding him while he's hot, right?
That's exactly right. That's why he was drafted nowhere and has been picked up still almost nowhere. I mean, he wasn't in the rotation to start the season because why would he be? So yeah, I'm definitely sensing regression is going to happen, but it may not happen this week. So I think he's still good for another start or 2, hopefully 2 this week if you are streaming him. Just know the risk, right? Know the risk. But you know what? There are examples sometimes of players who do better at the major league level than at double or triple A. It's happened. It's not often, but it has happened. And we'll see exactly what goes on with Lucas this week. I don't think there's a huge strikeout upside here with Lucas. So honestly, I don't know too much about what to expect from him, but you can stream him if you are looking for some upside. That's where he's at right now.
There you go. And then Raul with another one. Desperate for second base in a deep dynasty league. Second base is terrible. Currently has underperforming Semien and a hurt Jonathan India. Thinking about dropping India for Haesung Kim. What do you think? It's dynasty, remember? So this is permanent. This is not like drop him for now. This is a permanent drop.
Yeah, but I don't think India is really a must hold. I don't know how deep your league is. I mean, you say deep, but depends how deep. But if you're getting Kim, a potential long-term play there at the Keystone, I'm actually kind of surprised that Kim is available in a deep dynasty league. To be honest, I'm not sure why. Maybe you guys don't have deep benches, or maybe you don't have the ability to stash prospects. Most dynasty leagues, at the very least, have some sort of an NA spot or a minor spot. But yeah, I think if you want Kim, let me just tell you this. I'm on the fence. I may or may not talk about India on the Panic video this week. I don't think he's owned enough and started enough for people to really care enough to panic about him. That's like, he's sucking. So what? I'll drop him. I am going to talk about Kim on Beat the Breakout. This is the time to pick him up, even in redraft, if you can stash him. So yeah, I'm going to do that if I were you. I would definitely pick up Kim. And oh, by the way, I am going to talk about Semien on the Panic video.
All right, there we go. Good luck, Raul. Thank you again for the question. All right, Uwe2K, speaking of Mackenzie Gore, would you drop him for any of these guys? Brian Wu, Casey Mize, Max Mayer, Nick Lodolo, or your boy, Jose Soriano?
So all of these guys are just on the waiver wire in your league. I don't want to necessarily just drop Gore, but I like all of those pitchers. I like them all as much, if not better. You got to get Mize if he's available, and you got to get Wu. Wu should not be on waivers, but then you got to pick up Soriano. I mean, can we? Okay, this is where let's make some trades here. Trade some of your pitchers, your bench players, and clear room, and just stash these pitchers. I don't know how all these pitchers are on the waiver wire, if that's possible. So I'm sorry to say, Yui, but I like every single one of them. But if I had to pick, I guess I would go. I don't know. I guess Mize. Go Mize first.
Who's got the best matchup this week?
Yeah, right. Maybe. I mean,
if all these guys are on your waiver wire,
that's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Brandon Norris, what's up? Wants to know, would you drop Sam Smith for Tegill, which I assume is Tyler McGill? Is this his nickname? Tegill?
Tegill. I'm guessing Tyler McGill. And I'm guessing you're talking about Shane Smith, not Sam Smith. If my interpretation here is right, then yes, I would get McGill.
All right, there you go. Louis 2K with another one. Who's a better ad in points leagues, Ben Rice or Kyron, Mr. Fantasy MVP Paris?
I'm just going to say long term, by end of season, it's going to be Rice, I think. But again, is this like an 18 league or something? I'm serious, because all these guys are just on waivers. Don't you just have to pick up Paris and just go with him until the bat, is extinguished from its fire? I think you just have to go with Paris for now. And then eventually you can just pick up Rice. If these guys are just out there on waivers, then there's really not a big sense of urgency, right?
Yeah. All right. And now Uwe2K wants to know, is that Seth Lugo? Are you dropping Seth Lugo for Lucas? I don't know who Lucas is. Who's Lucas?
Easton Lucas? Probably Easton Lucas.
Oh, yeah, probably Easton Lucas, as we talked about him. All right, you dropping Seth Lugo for Easton Lucas. How crazy are we getting here?
No, I'm not going to go that far. Lugo, I don't think Lugo will do what he did last year, but I'm not dropping him for a maybe kind of breakout. And then as Steve is saying here, maybe he's this year's Bowden Francis. Well, maybe, but no, I'm not going to do that.
All right, don't get crazy here. Don't get crazy with Easton Lucas here. All right, Frank Morano, what is up? Who would you roster in a 12-team league if you had a choice? Ben Brown, Walker Buehler, Andrew Heaney, or Chase Dollander?
Ooh. All right. That's a tough one. Now, just out of those pitchers, if I don't think at all about what has happened the first 2 weeks, the pitcher I liked the best was definitely Ben Brown. Ben Brown has tremendous upside. He doesn't have the injury history of a guy like Walker Buehler, who does. And then and Heaney, we saw after a couple amazing starts, finally came back to earth. So I think I'm going to still stick to my preseason evaluation of these guys and go with Brown. Dollander is interesting, but yeah, he's a rookie, and yes, he's in Colorado. So, if we're talking dynasty, of course, it's Dollander, but I'm going to stick with Brown for now. Buehler did look good in his last start, but again, I'm very skeptical of his potential basically going forward. I just don't know how deep he's going to go into games. I don't know how much he's got left. He's not the same pitcher. He just is not, statistically speaking, not the same pitcher anymore. Why would he be? So I think right now I'll stick with Brown.
All right, how about this one from Fantasy Sports? I assume this is Taylor McGill, the closer, because he's saying should he drop McGill for Bautista? Bautista struggled to start the year, but did just pick up a save on Saturday. So I assume this is the other McGill, because there's a starting pitcher McGill and like the closer McGill, right? Of course, just to make it confusing.
So yeah, maybe this is Trevor McGill. I'm guessing
Trevor McGill. Which, by the way, crazy fun fact that my friend told me: there are 2 Max Muncies in Major League Baseball. They share the same exact birthday, 12 years apart, and they were both drafted by the team in those cities. That is crazy. All right. Anyways, are you dropping McGill, the closer, for Bautista, the closer?
Yeah, so oddly enough, we're talking first 2-start streamer we talked about was Tyler McGill. And when I'm going to put out tomorrow's video is the panic video, not the first, but the second player I'm going to talk about is Trevor McGill, because he just came off a pretty bad outing. And it's not just, okay, yeah, that happens. Closers, relievers, they'll have a bad outing, they'll blow a save. but he just had an MRI. Yeah, he looked off. So you're like, well, what's going on here? I'm not going to drop McGill yet. I mean, sure, the panic level is going to be fairly high, but again, this was just one appearance. And supposedly it came back clean. Nothing going on here. It might be a thing that's just bothering him, but not going to keep him out. I mean, look, if he hits the IL here in a few days, your decision is made, right? You stash him in IL or you drop him and you get Batista. The thing with Batista, I liked McGill more than Batista before the season. Let's just start with that. Because McGill was really good last year. He's got the closer job in Milwaukee. Batista, oh yeah, he's the closer for the Orioles. Sometimes because he's just coming off a year-long injury, and they already said, and they are easing him into action. He's not going to be out there that often. He's not going to get every save opportunity. Now, maybe by midseason, he's back to the old Bautista and he's dominating. But I'd say right here, right now, I should still prefer McGill. But if we hear bad news or he has another bad outing in just the next couple of days, I'm flipping it and I'll do this. So I'm not doing it yet. But tomorrow, you ask me the same question and it might be a different answer.
All right. There you go. Thank you for the question. And then F wants to know, Chase Meidroth? Is he worth it? Is he worth making a roster spot for? I guess he just started playing. He's got 7 ABs, 3 hits, 3 runs, although he's got no homers, no RBIs, no stolen bases. So,
yep,
is it worth it?
You pretty much said it without saying it. You can get used to home runs, stolen bases, RBIs. Yeah, don't expect any of that stuff. This is going to be, I guess, what you could call a poor man's Luis Ariz. He might get you some hits, and that's about it. Look, I don't want that on my fantasy team. I don't think he's worth adding because it's just going to be a very shallow fantasy profile. I know some people like him. We always get excited because he's a prospect who's getting a shot. I mean, good for him, great in real life, but there's just not enough here. Not enough meat on the bone.
All right. Well, what about Alex Call? Is there enough meat on the bone here? He's got 11 hits in 30 games. They're 30 ABs, not games. Batting .367. He does at least have 7 RBIs to go with 6 runs and 1 steal, although also no home runs.
For real, no. We've seen Call before. I mean, he's not somebody brand new. He's a fourth outfielder type. He'll have a hot streak here and there, and then he'll disappear. So no, I'm not going to pay any attention to Alex Call.
All right. And then Harry, what's up? He does not believe in having extra bats in points league. So what should he do with Kurtz? He's already got Alonso and Vinny P occupying, I guess, the utility slots.
I mean, if you have those two guys, yeah, you don't need another first baseman. I get that. In a points league, Kurtz won't be as valuable because he's a slugger, right? that advantage in home runs, it's nice, but it's also not the most important type of player you can have on your team. Vinny P is going to be more important to your roster in a points league than Kurtz anyway. So, what I will do here is if you already have him, which it sounds like you do, I'm going to wait. I mean, look, what if he does get the call this week, next week? I know a lot of people are just expecting it to happen any moment now just because Brent Rooker played outfielder one day. I mean, it's not a guarantee. I was going to talk about Kurtz anyways. You have to talk about Kurtz, right? Beat the breakout. If you have Kurtz, you hold him, you wait till he gets the call, and then you trade him. I mean, everyone's going to get all hyped up for this guy. As soon as you hear he's getting called up, you flip him, and I guess you're looking for pitching instead of hitting. Okay, get yourself a pitcher, or maybe do 2 for 1, right? You can parlay Kurtz plus mediocre SP3, SP4 type, and maybe upgrade to a strong SP2 type.
All right, there you go. Thank you for the question. And then Logan wondering, Dylan Cruz, who's got his average all the way up to 116 after it was a nice fat 0 in early April. Is he about to get demoted?
I don't think so. I mean, this is somebody who can help even if he's struggling big time. And yeah, I know he just sat, but I won't read too much into that. They're going to try to get him going. You got to realize that even if a guy like Alex Call is hitting better, or Jacob Young. This is not in the best interest of the club to have those guys playing over Dylan Cruz, because this could hurt his confidence. They don't want to squash this guy's confidence, so I wouldn't count on him getting demoted anytime real soon. I think he's got a longer leash.
All right, let's hope he gets it going here. We'll see. All right, F, this is a good question because I feel the same way. Where are we at on Jake Berger? I knew when I pulled the trigger on Jake Berger, I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. This is Jake Berger. He's gonna have a month. He's gonna probably have a month where he hits like 10 home runs, and everybody's gonna be like, Burgermeister, and then but the rest of the time he's just terrible. So where are we at with Jake Berger?
Burgermeister, Meister Burger.
Yes, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Well, is this unfair? He's gonna watch anyways, right? If he's a loyal viewer, you will find out tomorrow morning when the Panic video comes out. He is on the list. Of course, he's on the list. He's not the only Ranger on the list.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to watch the video. You and I will have to watch the video tomorrow, F. All right. Skywalker. Luke? Is that you, Luke? Or are you Ray? Which Skywalker are you? Which Skywalker is this? All right. How do you rank these starting pitchers? Jackson Jobe, Gavin Williams, or Hayden Wisniewski, my favorite two-star streamer who dominated this week? Would you drop any for Walker Buehler?
Would I drop those guys for Buehler? No. I'm putting Buehler behind all of them. Gavin Williams looked solid. And now, of course, that was, if I recall, against the White Sox. So, big grain of salt. But still, I like Gavin Williams before the season. Actually, you like Gavin Williams too, didn't you? Did you draft him or?
I did not draft him. I wanted to draft him, but I got sniped. I had him last year. I picked him up when he came back from injury. I picked him up, and he was hit or miss. But I think, yeah, I do like him. I like him. I do have Jackson Jobe in our league, though. I do have Jobe, and I have Wisniewski.
Right. So but I was thinking it was last year you had Gavin Williams. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So you've had all these guys. I like Williams. I do. Jobe should be the best of these guys. But what's weird is that even though his last start was actually fairly effective, still only, I think it was like 2 strikeouts.
Yeah, that was very disappointing. I'm like, what? Yeah, strike some batters out, get some whiffs here.
Well, yeah, but this is just a continuing theme all spring, all season. He's not striking batters out, and that's not something that just magically changes overnight. Inducing whiffs. He's going to take more time to really figure it out, how to sequence his pitches, how to set batters up, and what to do on strike 2. So I think we're just going to have to be a lot more patient for Jobe. So I'm going to put him behind Williams. The question here is, are we all in on Wisniewski or not? That's the question.
Hey. Look, when we did the 2-star streamers last week, I said it's got such good matchups. He's my guy. He's my guy this week. But that doesn't mean I'm like all in. Hey, it came through this week. I don't know who he faces this week. I haven't checked yet. But if it's a good offense, I'm probably just dropping him.
Yeah. It's like, exactly. We don't want to get too carried away. I really think he could be a pitcher that sticks on fantasy rosters the rest of the season, but he could also not. So I'm going to put him below those 2 for now. So right here, right now, I'll go Williams, Jobe, Wisniewski, and then Buehler.
All right. And we did get a couple of super chats. First of all, we got Durf Boy. So thank you guys on the channel.
What's up?
Thank you. Appreciate that. Love the TMNT icon there. And then our boy Eddie Buzz dropping the big time super chat. Thank you so much. That is very generous of you. He says, please allow me to treat you to lunch tomorrow. Thank you. Is my way of saying thank you for all the work you 2 put into informing us and entertaining us. Saying, Pierre, your deep league picks are always helpful. We appreciate you. No, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Eddie.
Appreciate you, Eddie. And the other one, I think it quickly said Roman Anthony's ETA. I wish I knew, but I'm going to just keep talking about him. Hey, look, he's the kind of player that even if you don't have an NA or minor spot in your roster, you stash him. Just keep him on your bench and you stash him. He's so hot already it can't be too much longer. He's going to force his way up. So ETA, look, I'm going to say right now, I'd probably guess early May, if I had to guess. But just stash him. Don't wait. Don't wait, because as soon as he gets the call, it'll be too late. Everyone's going to pick him up.
All right, there you go. Sorry, I missed that on that super chat. All right, got another one from Tom. Thank you so much. Very generous here. Missed out on a top 5 catcher. He's going to go without that position. So we're just punting catcher. Instead, he's going to stream a relief pitcher, starting pitcher in their place. Is this a viable strategy? Is it a common strategy? What do you think? Just completely punting catcher.
Okay, I'm trying to understand these. So you're deciding to stream a pitcher in their place? How is that possible?
He'll have an open roster spot, because this is one thing that is frustrating for me about streaming pitchers, which is why I've been trying to make like 2-for-1 trades in our league, because sometimes I can't pick up pitchers I want to stream because I'm like, I don't have anybody to drop. So if you don't have a catcher, you got room. You got room for pitchers, but you don't have a catcher. But you also don't have a catcher.
I have a hard time just completely leaving a position open. I mean, look, if the options on your waiver wire are just that bad, I mean, sure, maybe you are better off leaving it empty. I mean, it really depends, because, I mean, yeah, it's catcher. It's tough. And I'm looking, for example, in our league. Our league is not a deep league, right? It's 12 teams. It's one catcher. You should be able to have a decent catcher. But I'm looking at the waiver wire, and yeah, it is slim pickings. Like Jonah Heim is available. Pedro Pajes. I mean, if it's that bad, you know what? I wouldn't do it. I don't like to punt categories. I don't like to punt positions, because I feel like you're just already saying like, okay, I'm going to start one step behind, right? I'm sacrificing this. I don't think you need to do that, because even if a guy gets you a few home runs, some RBIs, that might make the difference. You know what I mean? Between at the end of the year. And I feel like if you're streaming, I mean, that's the whole point. You're streaming. That means the guy you picked up for this week, you're going to drop him in place of another pitcher next week. So I don't feel like you need that extra spot. I mean, how many pitchers are you really starting every single week? So, I mean, I don't know. Look, if your catchers are that bad, then sure. But if it's me, I just don't want an empty hole in my roster.
All right, there you go. Thank you for the super chat. Interesting strategy there. But look, if it works for you, go with it, I guess. All right, speaking of Max Muncy, I didn't know me doing the fun fact would get us, believe it or not one but 2 Max Muncy questions. All right, this is the Dodger Max Muncy and Jacob deGrom. How panicked, or are there any concerns with these guys? Are we going to see him on the panic video tomorrow?
Muncy was on last week's video, I think. And you know what, with Muncy, he's a guy I feel like I should be panicked more about. And then you look at the end of the day, it's like, well, he's going to do the same thing he's always done. So no, I'm not as worried about Muncy anymore. He's gotten off to slow starts. He's had, slumps. He's a slugger, right? He would be a perfect fit on the bomb squad right about now. He would be a perfect fit. But
is he not? Well, hold on. Is he hitting home runs right now or not?
No, not at all.
Oh, come on over. You perfect fit. Perfect fit for the bomb squad. All these bombers that can't hit bombs, come on over.
That's what I'm saying. You could platoon him with Mark Vientos, and then take turns.
Mark Vientos hasn't seen my lineup in like a week. No, I don't. I'm just waiting. Here. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I'm waiting for something. All right. Speaking of Muncy, Skywalker wants to know: are you keeping Muncy? Which bust are you taking, Muncy or Burger?
I was gonna say, man, pick your poison is literally true here. Who do you want poisoning your offense? Look, I was big on Burger before the season started, and I'm not giving up. I don't want to spoil the panic video for tomorrow, but I think Burger will rebound. But I also think that Muncy is worth keeping here. So there's no reason to drop him for Burger right now, because it's not like Burger's doing any better, right? Like what are you getting here? It's okay to bench one of these guys. I mean, you did this with Vientos, who was drafted very high by everybody, not just you, but it's okay to bench a guy and stream some guy who's at least doing something at third base. You know what I mean? And just wait it out until he starts to get hot. I mean, somebody out there could help you at third base, even if you don't really believe in him. You don't need to. It's fine. I mean, a lot of people are picking up Edmundo Sosa. I don't think Edmundo Sosa is going to do much for you, but if he can get you through this week, fine. He gets you through this week until Muncy finally hits a home run. You know what I mean? Polanco is widely available. Jorge Polanco is a known commodity. Jorge Polanco has had really good offensive seasons. He's healthy. He's good enough. Just pick up Jorge Polanco. And then when Muncy comes around, then you start Muncy again.
All right, there you go. That is the one downside of drafting all these hitters early is you feel like you have to keep. Like last year, I just was like, oh, you suck. You go on the bench. I don't care. This year, I'm like, I can't bench Corey Seager. I can't bench Trey Turner. Can't bench these guys as they continue to kill me week after week. All right, Brandon Norris, what's up? Wants to know Friedel Newbar or Rosa Reina. Just one of these guys in a standard ESPN points league.
Okay, so I was all set to say, now I'm not talking about, I almost put a Rosarena for Panic video this week because his average is, pretty bad. But he does have 3 home runs. He does have 3 steals. He's driving in some runs. He's at least coming around a little bit. But you're talking points league. So that batting average or lack of batting average and the strikeouts hurt you a little bit more. So this is going to be close between Notebar and Rosarena. I think Friedel I can ignore because when Austin Hayes comes back, which I hope is soon, I think it might be this week, that might cut into Friedel's playing time a little bit. I'm still going to give the edge, I think, to a Rosarena because he could bring that average up and at least he'll do something for you. It's a lot more volatile. No bar is a little more, a flat line. Rosarena's up and down. But man, if you can only pick one, I think I still got to give a Rosarena the edge.
All right. Thank you as always, Brandon. And then Micah just wanted to say real quick, this is the best fantasy football podcast. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, let's see. Victor says you can only keep 2 out of these 3 players: Otto Lopez, Matt Wallner, Josh Smith. Which 2 you
got? I like Wallner the best. I mean, I liked him best preseason. I know he's gotten off to a slow start, but he's still leading off most days. I think it'll come around. The power hasn't quite come through. It's early. I'm keeping faith in Wallner. Smith and Lopez, reluctantly, I'll say Lopez because Lopez at least plays most every day. Josh Smith is kind of that utility guy, but now Josh Young is back and Seager's, for the moment, healthy. Smith is fine. He never gets me too jazzed up, though. So I'll go with the first 2.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Victor. All right, Ilras123, what is going on? What are your thoughts on Mike, grandson of Carl Yastrzemski, currently batting .300 with 2 home runs, 2 stolen bases? He's a spry, 34 years young. Are we seeing the 34-year-old breakout?
Well, actually, no, we're not. We're not. He'll get hot for a week or 2, and no.
How is this guy 34 years old? Is he really?
It's never too late. No. He's not a very inspiring profile. He's having a nice week. The Giants are having a nice week. Good for them. But no, I'd rather keep Michael Garcia. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to jump the queue if you don't mind here. You know who I prefer over Yaz, who nobody's talking about except for me? Kyle Stowers of the Marlins. Get him instead. He's probably available.
All right, there you go. All right, Durf Boy, who dropped that super chat, wants to know, what do we do with Casey Mize? Did not come through today against the Twins, but had a nice game against the Yankees, a good game against the Mariners, a kind of a rough game today against the Twins. What are we doing here?
Not panicking. He'll be fine. He's still a very young pitcher. He's going to have ups and downs. It's just the way it is. I say young. He's actually not that young anymore. I keep forgetting because he's had so many injuries. Okay, but he is still a relatively inexperienced pitcher. I think he'll be okay. Like, it was a road game. The Twins, they're getting it together. I think he'll be okay. So just hold tight for the most part. I don't want to panic drop a guy after one bad start. So that's what I'm doing.
All right, then Mr. Waking Up saying congrats to Rory McIlroy. Yes, won the Masters on the first playoff hole, if you didn't know. Sorry if I spoiled that for anybody. All right, are you picking up Sasaki and dropping Wisniewski? And then I think the second, or maybe he's saying, or I think picking up Sasaki and maybe he could drop one of those guys, Wisniewski, Holmes, or McGill.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. He's saying drop one of those three. The fact Sasaki was dropped, that definitely screams panic to me. Someone panicked. And look, I said this over and over. I out of all the leagues I'm in, which if I had to actually think about and count, it's probably like 12 or something like that. I drafted Sasaki one time, and that only one time I drafted him was because he fell so far. I'm like, okay, what the hell? I'll take him. I'll take a chance. That way I can say at least I have one share. So I was not in on Sasaki, but he shouldn't just be on waivers. I mean, come on. He has still so much potential, even if it takes to the second half of the season. Yes, pick him up. I like Holmes still. I'm keeping Holmes. So here we go, Wisniewski or McGill. I prefer Wisniewski. So if you got to drop one, it's McGill.
All right, there you go. Thank you for that. And then Abel wants you to rate his team. He's got Guerrero, Jazz, Christian Walker, Langeliers, Mullins, Schwarber, Bichette, Jordan, Alvarez, I assume, Vientos. Oh, that right there hurts. Yamamoto, Bibi, Blanco, DeGrom, Schwellenbach, Hader, Scott Rodriguez, Festa, Soriano. How was it?
Okay, so assuming, I don't remember this 12 team, I'm assuming just standard roto. Honestly, your best pitcher might be Schwellenbach, but that's not a dig on your team. That's just a compliment to Schwellenbach. That's how good he might be. Yamamoto, I love. We had some questions earlier about DeGrom. You know what? I didn't draft DeGrom anywhere. Out of all the teams I just listed, I was saying how I didn't draft Sasaki but once. I drafted DeGrom exactly 0 times this year. I'm sorry. I could not pull the trigger with a top 50, 60 pick, whatever he was going. I'm not doing it. So I'm swapping him out right now if you can. Other than that, though, I like your pitching. Soriano, of course. Great pick. Scott Rodriguez. You've got good amount of power. You got actually a great amount of power, even if Vientos doesn't do anything. So I think this is. I mean, I don't see any players I really dislike here other than DeGrom, which sounds weird. Get an 8 out of 10.
All right, there you go, Abel. Don't get too upset about the slow start. He's still got a good team. All right, U2K said he lost Abrams, but he's got Ellie. Been all right. Ellie's had like 2 monster games, and then he's just kind of been the rest of the time. But his monster games have been nice. So, available are Fantasy MVP Kyron Paris, Perdomo, Rice, Wilmer Flores, and Bryce Turang. Bryce Turang. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Okay, like I know he's not Ellie, but come on, like Yui, seriously. 8 teams, 6 teams. How many teams are in this league? These guys are just out there available. Pick up Turang and then don't worry about it. You know, a lot of people were hating on Bryce Turang this preseason. I don't know why. And I kept saying, I put him on the value pick video, undervalued. It was like, oh, we're just going to say last year was, 50 steals, whatever. He's a bum. Everybody who didn't pick Turang or, skipped on him or thought he would be a bust, they're eating crow right now. Pick up Turang. Start Turang.
All right, there you go. All right, Harry Brooks wants to know who wins this trade, Max Muncy and DeGrom for Austin Riley. Is that Austin Riley? Who's also been struggling. So many guys struggling.
I mean, Austin Riley has definitely been off to a slow start, but I'm taking Riley here. I mean, you're clearly getting the edge. I'm not going to rant about DeGrom. I did that in the preseason. Give me Riley. Give me Riley here.
All right, there you go. You know what's crazy to me I was thinking about this about fantasy baseball. I know we still have a lot of questions. We're already an hour in, so we got to get moving a little bit here. But like, think about fantasy football. Yes, there are busts in fantasy football, but like you look at the first round, most of the guys you pick in the first round, assuming they're not an injury like Christian McCaffrey, most of them are at least okay. Yeah, there's a handful of guys that are bust. Fantasy baseball, it's like there's like 50 guys busting already. Like, what's going on here? Like, this is crazy, right? Like, you feel like, the guys on my team are all bust, but then I look, I'm like, well, so are all these other guys. So like, how are there so many busts?
It's just a bigger player pool. I'm sure that's all it is.
I think it's just maybe just a rant. Like, just baseball is such a hard game, right? Like, you only get four chances a night, and it don't always go your way. All right, Anthony, with another one here. Do you think we see Travis Bazana? Bazana, what a name. Do you think he comes up soon?
It's not, I wouldn't say soon, but I think sooner than people expect. So I think it's easy to just look, this guy was just drafted. They're not going to even think about him this year. Oh no, they made some moves intentionally, I think, knowing that he's going to be up. I think the latest would be post deadline. I wouldn't be shocked if we see him in July. So I'm not going to say soon. They're going to give all their other myriad of second base options a chance. They have Arias and Brito and all these guys. But look, they traded Tyler Freeman. They cleared some room here. Jimenez is gone. They know what's going to happen here. Bazana pretty soon is going to hold down second base for the next decade or so if things go well. So I won't talk about him as a stash yet because that's not realistic. But I don't think we have to wait till the end of the season. I think it's midsummer.
All right, good question, Anthony. And then Abel just wants to let you know that, hey, he got DeGrom in the 15th or 16th round. So
well, I mean, then yeah, of course I would have done that. That's crazy. Well, that's the problem though, is in the leagues I'm in and everywhere I saw his ADP, people are taking him in like round 4 or 5. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And look right here, right now. I know it's still early, but still, you tell me if I could get Jacob deGrom with pick 50 or Spencer Schwellenbach with pick 80, 90, every time you should have, and hopefully did get Schwellenbach.
All right, thank you for that. All right, because we are a little bit over an hour. We've got a lot of people on here, which is awesome. We appreciate it. Going to try to get to some questions from people who we haven't already answered a bunch of your questions, because I know a lot of people on here we've already answered 3, 4, 5 year questions. So let's go with this. Sam I Am, what's up? Thoughts on, I assume, Corbin Burns?
Yeah, I mean, Corbin Burns is still pretty dependable, solid, borderline ace. I think we can still say he could be your number one pitcher in most leagues. I know, not a great start. He's done this before, though. I'm not going to panic on him. I'm not even going to talk about him and panic. So don't worry. Not a great couple of starts, but he'll be fine.
All right, there you go. Thank you for that. And then right after I say we're going to take some questions from new viewers, I have to pull this one up from Frank because it's about Noave Marte, who last year I thought I got a league winner off the waiver wire. Boy, was he terrible. All right, is this it? Has he figured out a way to take PEDs without getting caught, or are we just going to get the same guy we had last year?
I like the framing of that question is pretty good. Did he figure out how to beat the test? Look, if you're in an NL,
right? We have two Martes, right? We have PED Marte, who was a stud, and we have not PED Marte, who was terrible.
If it's an NL only league, you always take a chance on upside. You always do it. It is a 12 team, not a 10 team, but I picked up Will Benson in an NL only league because I was so desperate at outfield, and he lasted all of 2 days before he got sent down. Take a chance. Don't expect too much, but take a chance and see what happens. I mean, that's all you can do. All
right, there you go. You never know. I saw like he was trending on the waiver wire. I'm like, oh, look, he's trending.
Yeah.
Can I resist? Yeah, I resisted. All right, BTC Made, what's up? Good to see you. Should he buy low and trade Adolis Garcia and Clay Holmes for DeGrom?
If you flip it, I would do that. I would sell. high, not high because he's doing great, but based on name recognition, I would rather have the other two. So no, I'm not buying low on DeGrom, and that is, I mean, look, that's fair for what you think. If you get anything close to DeGrom level DeGrom, that would be fair. But I don't know. I like Luis Garcia as a buy low. I like Clay Holmes as a buy low. I would rather not do that.
All right. And then we got one from I'm going to say Fries because his picture is some curly fries. All right. Who do you prefer? Which young, hyped up next generation superstar do you prefer? Julio Rodriguez or Jackson Chourio?
Wow. I mean, that's, I don't know what everyone's opinion is on this, but that's like deciding between like curly fries and wedge fries. Like, is there a bad choice? It's kind of the same. They're both good. If I had to pick, I actually would give the slight edge to Chourio. I liked him better this draft season. They're both studs, but I do think Chourio. I'll go Chourio.
All right, there you go. All right, David with the super chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
Paradis or Alec Baum rest of the season?
I feel like this is the third stream in a row we've had this exact same question, right? Am I right?
Alec Baum. Everybody's asking about Alec Baum right now.
Yeah, and actually, I guess deeper leagues, I've seen he's been dropped in a few leagues. I like them both. I think they're going to wind up being close. I'll say I give the slight edge to Paredes because of the homer upside, although you do say it's points league. So here we go. I feel like I'm saying the same thing here, but Bohm is safer in a points league. I think Paredes is more valuable in a roto league. We do see the Astros finally decide to like score runs and stuff the other day. So maybe this is the turning point. I'll give the slight edge to Paredes still, even in points.
All right, there we go. And then what about Christian Walker or Tristan Casas?
I'm holding out hope for Casas, and it's still very, very, very early, but I think you have to go with Walker here. So I guess both Astros.
All right, there you go. And then Abel, another super chat, thank you so much, wants to know. All right, any of your two-start streamers or DeGrom, so you're dropping DeGrom for any of those two-start streamers, or try to trade them. I mean, yeah, sure, if you can, but if it takes you a few days to trade him, you're not going to get those two-start streamers, of course. Needs wins, and he also put in a claim for Alexis Diaz, who got dropped.
Well, he got dropped for a reason. He might come back. I'm not giving up all hope on Alexis Diaz, but anyways, you definitely can and still should get something for DeGrom. So DeGrom belongs on rosters. I'm not saying he doesn't. But I'm going to try to sell. And you know what? I know you feel like you're selling low because he's coming off a bad start. It wasn't that bad, first of all. And second of all, this is not a player who everyone's be like, oh, well, so much for that guy. He's a bum. Everyone's still, he's Jacob DeGrom. It doesn't matter how many bad starts he has. Somebody will still think he is the best pitcher on the earth. So you can try to trade him and see what you get. You can and should definitely get something good for him. Don't sell low, right? Don't just give him up for nothing, but you should still be able to get something.
All right. Thank you again for that and for everybody who's super chatted so far. All right, Jamal wants to know, is Tanner Bibby a drop in a 10-team points league? He's got Strider coming off IR and Max Mayer just sitting on the waiver wire.
I'm glad you clarified, Jamal. That's a great question, and that's a tough question. Bibby is generally not a drop, but it's a 10-team league. All right. You got Strider. That's nice. And then Max Meyer over Bibby. You know what? Do it. I think you can. I'm not super high on Bibby. I think I can go Meyer over Bibby in a 10-team points league. So tough drop, but if you don't need him, you can do it.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Jamal. And then Drew's internet show. What's up, Drew? Wants to know, Kumar Rocker or Andrew Abbott?
Going Rocker all the way. Not the best first start for him. I think he'll be fine. Tons of upside. Abbott didn't even make the rotation For the Reds out of camp, yeah. I mean, Abbott will be fine sometimes, but you got to go Rocker here.
All right, there you go. And again, trying to look for questions from people we haven't answered a bunch tonight. Or
how about this is a perfect question for you. Jesus wants to know.
Is it safe to drop Mark Vientos?
I wouldn't. I mean, I know it's hard to be patient, but again, you can bench and you don't have to drop because as soon as you drop him, he could have a 2-homer, 3-homer game. He could have binge week where he goes off. That's the risk here. It's too early to drop a guy like this. Too early. You can bench him. Like I said, pick up some guy off of waivers who can get you through the week, the 2 weeks, whatever it is. But don't drop.
Yeah, let's not drop him yet. All right, then Todd wants to know Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Dynasty League. Trade them while their value is high or keep them? What are you doing with these guys in Dynasty if you got them?
Great question. And first of all, anyone with a dog avatar will definitely get put on screen.
Yes.
Hunter Green, I'm keeping. I love Hunter Green. The only thing I regret this preseason is not talking more about Hunter Green because I talked about him so much last year. I was so high on him last year. I was like, okay, I need to tone it down a little bit. Let's just say, okay, let's keep it realistic. And so I had him, ranked fairly, but I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go overboard here. I should have. I love Green. I'm keeping him. Lodolo, I'm okay trading him because there is some injury history with him. He's a little more volatile. I generally like Lodolo. Like, I don't think you have to trade him. But if you were looking to trade one of them, Lodolo would be the one. If you don't have to, if you're just wondering if these are sell-high candidates, I generally think Lodolo might be if you get a fair return for him.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate the question and the avatar. All right, Spaceman BL in a standard 12-team league. Would you rather have Blade or Michael Bush?
I'm gonna say Blade, but barely. Bush has shown some improvement this year in terms of his plate discipline, which is nice. And he isn't out of the lineup most days. Even against some lefties, he's staying in there a little bit. But Blade, I think, is just a little bit more of an all-around profile. But Bush is still going to have to show a little bit more consistency. But it's close, but I'll go Blade.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Spaceman. All right, hi, Nathan. That's his name, by the way. I'm not saying hi to Nathan, although, hi, Nathan.
Hi,
Nathan. All right, on-base percentage league. Masataka Yoshida, is he worth the stash?
I've been too optimistic with Yoshida the last 2 years. I mean, he's got to stay healthy and actually crack the lineup first, right? Let's start with that. No, I'm not stashing him yet. I need to see him healthy, playing regularly, and then actually performing because he's continued to underachieve even when he is in the lineup, which has been a while since he's been in the lineup. So I'm not stashing him yet. Yeah, his on-base percentage will be good if we see legit, whatever this now version of Yoshida. He's not a young guy anymore. I mean, he's not, and he's had so many injuries. So, no, I'm not stashing him yet. You can wait. Nobody else is running out to pick him up.
And then BTC saying his questions haven't been answered. BTC, I hope you didn't miss it. We did answer it. We just got a lot of questions today. It took a while to get to your questions. Another one from Victor, because we've only done one of his, is Jeffrey Springs worth holding on to? I know you like him as a 2-star streamer this week, so I'm guessing you're not dropping him right now.
This is there you go, perfect full circle from the beginning of the stream. So we started with 2-star streamers. Springs is on this week's list, number 2. Definitely worth picking up this week. Is he going to be worth holding on to after this week? I think he's fine. He'll be fine. Look, I didn't draft a whole lot of Springs. I think he was being a little bit overestimated. He's not going to get a ton of strikeouts. He'll be a little bit slightly above league average. How many wins is he getting? I prefer him in a QS versus a wins league, but Again, he's a back-end rotation arm, not a must-hold. He's always going to be like kind of like a right there, right? Fringe roster.
All right, and then BTC's got another question about punting the position. Tyler Stevenson, Sean Murphy, or just punt it and stream pitchers. This must be a thing.
Well, look, if you have those options, I mean, Murphy, just pick up Murphy. He's been hot since he came off the IL. So, yeah, in this case, you can go Murphy. Like, if your only options were like Miguel Amaya and Elias Diaz, okay, fine, and then punt the position, but you can go Murphy.
All right, there you go. And then, are you ready for our weekly Luis Robert Jr. question? Would you drop red hot Jacob Wilson, who somehow, of course, somehow has 2 home runs, batting .344? We know this guy can hit. For Luis Robert Jr., who's batting a mighty .163 with 1 home run and 16 strikeouts, and was terrible last year. Where are we at? Where are you at?
I mean, I still feel like he doesn't belong just on waivers, but like you said, how much longer are we going to hold out and say, well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. This guy's killing your batting average and he's not hitting home runs. Sure, it could happen, but I'm going to surprise myself here and say, you know what? Don't do this. Keep Wilson. Wilson's a good hitter. This is a categories league. He's not going to hit a lot of home runs. He has more home runs than Luis Robert Jr. I mean, what are we looking for here? If you want steals, I guess, if you're desperate for steals, but can't you get steals somewhere else even? Nah, don't do this. I mean, I would still pick up Robert for somebody else maybe if it's somebody you don't need to hold on to, but nah, I'm not going to drop Wilson.
All right, there you go. Roll with Wilson. Luis Robert Jr., I don't know. He was a bust all last year. He's been a bust this year. At some point, we got to say he is who he is, I think. So, and then Earl just wanted to jump in just to rub salt in the wound. I was hoping Ian Happ would hit a home run tonight and give me that category, but instead, of course, Pete Crow Armstrong hits a home run, and I'm going to lose home runs for the second week in a row, despite drafting nothing but home run hitters.
The mighty Pete Crow Armstrong.
Oh, man. That was like last week. Anthony got like 14 steals against me, and JT Real Motu got 2 steals, of which he had 2 steals all of last year. I was like, well, let's see. I drafted the greatest stolen base guy in the league, and I got beaten in steals. And I drafted a team full of home run hitters, got beaten in home runs. This is fun times. Fun times. But it's still early. Still early. All right, we'll end. Whoops. Okay, yeah, thanks. We'll end with this Dynasty question from Todd. Spencer Jones, is he worth keeping rostered in a Dynasty 12-team league?
I don't think so, unless something drastic changes. The Yankees, I think it was Cashman. I already said at the beginning of the year, he's not being called up basically this whole season, maybe the very end. There's no point holding on to him. I think you can find somebody who could be more impactful.
All right, and I lied. We got to do at least one more because Carl's always on here. He jumped on late. He wants to know,
Carl,
who do you have to drop? So he's got to bring Freeman off IL. Got to drop. You can drop Buehler, Ruiz, Bautista, Springs, Keller, Shaw, Pete Crow Armstrong, who just hit a home run to take that category from me. Dominguez, Buxton, Willie Adames.
Out of this group, I'm going to drop Buehler. I mean, sorry, I know the last start was nice. I'm not buying into it. I don't want to drop those other guys. So Buehler it is.
And then we got to do this one because, of course, first of all, his name is Bacon It. So you got a dog in your avatar or bacon, you're good. And because I drafted this bum named Trey Turner. All right. So since I also have this bum named Trey Turner, would you trade Trey Turner for Yoshinobu, who I don't even know who that is, and Shane Baz? I might do it. I don't even know who Yoshinobu is, but I might do this just to get rid of Trey Turner.
God, well, you might. That's Yamamoto. It's Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Oh,
Dodgers.
Hasn't he been awesome so far?
Yeah. I mean, that's an intriguing trade because you're getting a frontline starter, and I like Baz. He's been great also, but you're definitely getting some some huge upside in terms of pitching. I think it's fair. Look, I am not out on Trey Turner, and Chris, you still know my trade offers are always out there. I'll take Turner off your hands, but yeah, I think you can do this. I think it's fair. I think you can do this.
All right, there we go. Do it. Get rid of Trey Turner. Yeah, he's a bust. Get rid of this guy. All right, guys. I think we're there. I guess we got one more real quick. Crypto Knight wants to know. Matt Mervis with a question mark.
Sure.
All right. And then back to back. I thought you were picking after me, and I let you get Aaron Judge, but maybe not. Okay, thought it was you. All right, never mind. It's not you. I thought you were in the end game league. My apologies. All right, we are all caught up. We went an extra 20 minutes today. Thank you to everybody for your questions and for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for the super chats. Everybody that super chatted, very generous. We greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, Underdog Fantasy. Go join. Use promo code Endgame. Get those MLB picks in every single day of the week. So that way, look, if your fantasy baseball team is struggling, it's okay. You can go win your picks on Underdog, and you'll feel okay. You'll feel okay at the end of the night. You'll be like, you know what? I made some money today, so I feel okay. Also, make sure to check out the videos. We got Panic tomorrow. Beat the Breakout. So those young stars that are about to make an impact. What else? Buy low. That's huge, right? We want to make those trades. And then, of course, waiver wire later in the week. And we will be back here. Plan is to be back here Wednesday to get you guys midweek. Get those questions answered. Get you guys ready for the rest of the week. Take home those victories. And if for some reason you're just checking this out and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Click that bell notification. You know, all the stuff they all say on YouTube. Go do that, guys. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night, and we will see you back here on Wednesday.